Okay, so today we're going to talk about shark diving, which has been a passion of mine since I was about 16 years old. I went on my first shark dive when I was 16. I just saw like a little small white tip reef shark and I thought it was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. So at that point in my life I became super obsessed with sharks. I started reading everything I could read about them. I started watching every video I could see. I learned everything I could possibly learn about every species of shark on the planet. I spent 8 months of my life at that age learning to dive with sharks. I mean, that's what I did. I just spent time diving with sharks. My mom had just gotten remarried, and the person she remarried happened to be into scuba diving, and he used shark diving as a way to kind of bond with me. So I was very fortunate. I got very lucky that at a very early age I was able to spend a lot of time diving all over the world with sharks. You know, it was pretty cool. What I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to show you, is footage from a trip I did last year. I actually did 2 trips to the Bahamas. One trip was in February. I went with GoPro to do a live broadcast. It was the first time a live broadcast had ever been done from depth with bull sharks. We were able to use this Wi-Fi cable that allowed us to send the signal from the like 30 feet deep to the surface, which then that cable hooked into a phone, which then hooked into Periscope, which then sent the footage around the world live, which was actually very, very cool. We actually had underwater communication from Guardian full-face masks that allowed us to speak and talk while we're underwater. That was then sent through that cable. And people were able to then ask us questions, and we were able to answer them live, which was it was a super special experience, actually, super cool. And we were there specifically to dive with hammerheads. We were there for a few days before, practicing, training, getting ready, and a bunch of hammerheads showed up. We actually got a lot of really great hammerhead footage. Unfortunately, for live day, no hammerheads showed up. But we had 9 bull sharks, which, you know, is still pretty cool. Bull sharks are a real shark. You know, they're actually considered more dangerous than hammerheads, as in a great hammerhead has never attacked a human being. So even though they're on the list of the 10 most dangerous sharks, they've never actually hurt anyone. So it's kind of funny that they're on that list at all. And even bull sharks, you know, they're considered like 3rd if you look at these lists. Some lists put them as like 3rd most dangerous shark in the world. But again, shark attacks are very, very rare. Very, very rare. Quite honestly, you're more likely to be struck by lightning, you're more likely to get killed by bees, you're more likely to be killed by dogs, snakes, spiders. Basically, if you had a list of things that kill people, sharks are quite literally at the bottom of that list under vending machines and badminton. So it's kind of like sharks have this fearsome reputation, but when you actually experience them in the real world, it's not what people think. It just isn't. The media has made them out to be these monsters. Movies like Jaws have made them out to be these monsters. But in my 25-year experience diving with sharks all over the world, everything from great whites to tiger sharks to bull sharks to great hammerheads, they're not what people think. They're just not. They're just not what people think they are. So the footage I'm going to show you is from 2 trips I did last year to the Bahamas. One was in Bimini, and that was with the great hammerheads, and then the other one, well, great hammerheads and bull sharks. And then the other one was also in the Bahamas, but it was to another location called Tiger Beach. And Tiger Beach has big, massive tiger sharks. On a kind of average day, or I don't even call it average, let's say on a bad day. On a bad day, you'll get about 2 tiger sharks and 50 lemons and gray reefs and nurse sharks and black tips and white tips, and I mean it's just unbelievable. That's a bad day. On an average day, you'll get like 4 or 5 to 7 tiger sharks with all those other sharks, and on a great day, you get anywhere between 16 to, I think the biggest day they had was like 22 tiger sharks on one dive. And this is sharks ranging from 8 foot to like 16, 17 foot monster tiger sharks. So the place is absolutely spectacular. And that's why I always go back over and over and over again. Because even though it's the same dive site, it's constantly shifting and changing. And people always ask me, you know, why do you go to the same dive sites over and over and over? And the reason why is because the ocean is always shifting. I've spent 6 years going to Fiji to the same dive site, spending 2 weeks there, diving 2 dives a day, every single day. And out of all of the dives I've done there, I've had 2 that I would consider to be spectacular. The rest were like average, okay, whatever. So think about that, 6 years, 2 weeks a year, diving 2 dives a day, every day, and out of all of that diving, 2 of them were spectacular. So that kind of tells you a little bit about how this works. And I'm still waiting. Like, I've gone 5 years to the Bahamas, spending 7 days there, diving 4 dives a day, and still I haven't had that, 16 tiger shark day. The most tiger sharks I've seen there is I think 7. That was my max. So every time I'm going, I'm always hoping that the current, the clarity, and everything will all align to create that perfect moment when we get massive sharks and lots of them and super heavy action, and that I can capture the footage to show people. And this is the thing, a lot of people get really, it's controversial, chumming for sharks. That's something a lot of people are like, well, it's not natural, it's bad for the sharks, you're training, there's all arguments. But all I can say is this: shark finning is bad for sharks. Eating sharks is bad for sharks. Shark fin soup is bad for sharks. If you want to fight for shark rights and helping sharks, fight that. But when it comes to diving with sharks, pouring blood and putting people in the water with them, that is good for sharks. Because what it does, it shows they're not monsters. They are not just going to kill and eat everyone who gets in the water with them. The more you see human beings interacting with sharks in a safe way, and you see the interaction, that's good for sharks. That helps sharks around the world. Not to mention, tourism, where people pay to get in the water with the sharks, becomes a profitable business for fishermen. So the fishermen in certain areas, like Isla Mujeres used to be a shark finning zone. They murdered sharks, killed everything. That's all they were doing. They were just slaughtering sharks. Now the fishermen who used to kill the sharks earn money taking tourists to go diving with them. They learned that basically a living shark is worth more than a dead shark. So anybody who has something against like chumming and shark diving because they think it's bad for sharks are insane. It's because they don't understand how it works. I've been spending, like I said, 25 years diving with sharks all over the world, and I can tell you right now, diving with sharks is not bad for sharks. Their location, the one I told you about in Fiji, they've been feeding sharks there twice a day, 5 days a week for 17 years. 17 years. There's a dive site that you can go diving on that's literally, you can take a rock from there, throw it, and hit the other dive site. And guess what? When you dive on the other dive site, guess how many sharks you see? 0. Every time I go diving there, if there's no blood, there's no sharks. Even in the spot where they do the shark dive, the second the blood is gone, the sharks are gone. That's it. They're there for the blood. The second the blood's gone, they go somewhere else, and then they just spend the rest of their day doing what they normally do, looking for fish and hunting. They've tagged them. They've done the scientific studies. They've watched them. So the reality of the situation is shark diving is good for sharks. Everywhere it's happening, for instance, Fiji, the one little place it is, has more biodiversity, more fish, more life, more everything from feeding the sharks than places just a few miles away in every direction. So, I'm sorry, I'm pro shark diving, period. And I'm just want to let everyone to know that I'm going back to dive with sharks July 1st through 8th on Jim Abernethy's boat. Anyone who wants to come can come with me. I will teach you what I know about GoPro and how to shoot with GoPro and get the best possible footage underwater with GoPro. And I want as many people as possible to experience sharks in their natural environment, maybe in an unnatural way, but so what? You still get to be around them. Without the blood, they're not going to hang out with you. So being able to experience them and understand them, and I can guarantee that by the end of the trip, you'll have a completely different concept of sharks and how dangerous they are. Anyways, I'm going to show some of the footage, and you make a determination if you'd like to come with me.